Recording in progress.
Good evening and welcome to this ordinary meeting of North Sydney Council. Welcome all of the councillors who are joining us here in the chambers and for those who will shortly be joining us remotely. And also extend that very warm welcome to those members of the public who have joined us in the gallery and to those who may well be watching on the webcast. Before we begin, I'd ask Councillor Holding to give the acknowledgement of country.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On behalf of all present here and those watching on the webcast, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of these lands on which we meet, those of the Cammeraygal people, and pay our respects to ancestors and spirits past and present.
Thank you, councillors. We've had two applications to attend tonight's council meeting remotely from Councillor Keane and Councillor Spenceley. Is there a mover? Councillor Antonini, seconded by Councillor Carr. Put the item, all those in favour, and that is carried unanimously, and we welcome Councillors Keane and Spenceley to the meeting. Are there any disclosures of interest for any of the items on the agenda? No. This meeting is being recorded and made publicly available on Council's website. Those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements. By attending the meeting, you are giving consent to your image and voice being webcast. Councillors, council staff and members of the public must ensure that mobile phones are turned to silent during meetings of the council. Councillors who need to use their phone to text, talk or engage in social media activity must leave the chamber to do so. That brings us to confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 28th of July. Is there a mover? Moved by Councillor Welsh, seconded by Councillor Holding. Is there any questions or discussion? I put the minutes, all those in favour, and that is carried unanimously. Councillors, we have a speaker who has registered to address council on a number of items. They are 10.2, commercial and group use of open space policy, 10.5, community use of St Leonard's Park, 10.8, art installation honouring local women, and 10.10, current appeals and results. Is there a procedural motion? Councillor Berrigie?
Thank you, Mayor. I move that we open the public forum for items 10.2, 10.5, 10.8 and 10.10 so that the speaker can address the council prior to debate.
Is there a seconded by Councillor Santa? Put the item, all those in favour, and that is carried. That then brings us to the first of those items, 10.2, commercial and group use of open space policy. The registered speaker is Davey McDonald. If you would please come forward.
Thank you. Good evening, councillors. I'm going to ask you to reject this report that's in front of you, and simply the fees that are proposed or the inference that there will be fees should be also included in public exhibition. I also feel that the report is missing how this is going to be implemented and the cost thereof of doing that. There are over 191 parks and open spaces in North Sydney. And though within that report it says that an application, a digital application would be fairly inexpensive, the actual enforcement of that, how is that going to happen? Apart from that, dog walkers, and I want to focus on this part in the report, bring an important service to our community. They are basically on very, very small incomes, and any increase or imposition of fees upon them are going to be passed upon to the ratepayers. And there comes a point when that may become something that the market won't be able to bear. And so there's a likelihood that we could lose some of that service. I speak as a dog owner, of course. What also worries me is that, is this some way of dealing with the loss that council has to endure with the decision by IPART, because that is what I fear is going on here at council. Special conditions for dog walkers already exist that they have to adhere to. That's in the report, but it's an unnecessary addition there. It's really quite clear. So I say again, what will the cost of this to implement be to the community? Go to any park during daylight hours, St Leonard's apart from that, because it's not safe for people to take their dogs for dog walkers. And there are a few people there. It's not as if that they are greatly imposing themselves because of the dogs that they're taking. Council should focus more importantly on the rich private schools in terms of funding the use of those facilities. Yes, I'm aware that this is being raised now, but that is what you should really focus on, not hitting the very poor dog walkers that provide a tremendous service to us. And we are the ratepayers, and ultimately we will be paying for that service. If you go to see what happened in the Beaches Link, I virtually alone stopped that from happening. You should be able to do better to get the legislation changed so you can get contribution from the rich public schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? No, thank you very much, Mr McDonald. Is there a mover? Councillor Berrigan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll move the recommendation.
Is there a seconded by Councillor Holding? Do you wish to speak?
I will speak briefly to it. I am a dog walker, a dog owner, and frequently I'm in St Leonard's Park with many other dog owners. The issue, of course, is that our neighbouring councils such as Lane Cove are charging professional dog walkers. I've just got it up on my screen. They can pay an annual fee of $2,500, a monthly fee of $210, or a quarterly fee of $620. And unfortunately, this puts North Sydney in a very difficult position because the dog walkers with dogs from neighbouring councils are now using our parks. That means more dogs off lead in our parks and being walked in our parks, especially at a time when we are losing our parks. Like the report, the recommendation that we are voting on says, this is to be placed out on community, on public exhibition for comment. And those comments from the community can then be taken into account when we decide, if and when we decide to go down this pathway. And I think it's the right way to go. We have more and more people using the parks. They cost a lot to maintain. And we do have our neighbouring councils charging, which means that people will go, other dog walking people will bring their business to our parks, which just puts extra strain on our parks.
Are there any other speakers? Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the policy, I would endorse the speaker's comments regarding the fact that we currently don't have any costs associated with how much it'll cost for this policy to be implemented. And given the income is going to be modest, I think it's important to have that before we put something like this out on public consultation. The other item that I had raised with the director of this section is the fact that we have within the policy identified two groups that we think are using in the parks, and they are, causing damage to our parks. There is commercial operations in Lavender Bay with kayaks. There are 3 or 4 operators. They're using areas that are eroding heritage listed infrastructure there. I don't know why we haven't included this within the conditions for use. This is a much more serious degradation of our parkland and heritage items than either of the two. groups that have been identified. And so for this reason, I won't be voting for this. I think it's incomplete and it's immature to put it out for public consultation at this point in time.
Thank you. Councillor Holding.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I just feel like some councillors here are jumping the gun. This is a draft report. It's going out for consultation, so the community does get to, have their say over it. I also think they're jumping the gun in saying that this is really not looking at casual users as much. It's looking at the impact on casual users by commercial groups, whether that's fitness training or, and we seem to be getting very focused on dog walkers, and I don't think that's the key aim of this. As the report states, it's a very good, thorough report. The council currently has no formalised policies in place to effectively manage and balance the use of our limited public open space and areas between commercial operators, large groups and casual users. And that's the main point. And this report going out on public consultation will give people the chance to give their feedback on areas that they're concerned about, whether that be kayaks or dog walkers. But this is really about providing equitable use of our limited free space for everyone. And that's for all ratepayers, whereas commercial organisations that are making money out of our spaces should be expecting to contribute and pay for the upkeep of our public spaces. That's only fair. Most businesses that operate will pay a rent on a shop or have to pay for staff or have to pay for a lease. It's the cost of doing business, and this is no different. So I'd be interested to see the feedback, but that's what this is. It's a draft report.
Councillor Santa.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A few months ago, I went to a private function being held for friends of ours for a birthday party in Centennial Park. There were about 40 or 50 people there, and the fees that were charged for this private function were quite substantial. And I note that not only all the councils around us, but pretty well all the councils on the other side of the harbour as well charge for use of their park facilities. There is adequate precedent out there to work out how much it would cost us to police such a system, and also how it can be done, how we can actually get the revenue from that source. The fee at that Centennial Park function was I thought was quite high when they told me how much they were paying, but it seemed quite acceptable to them. It's an acceptable practice. And I also note that I often go down to the harbour around McMahon's Point and around Lavender Bay and see these private companies currently taking advantage of the finest view of the finest harbour in the world at McMahon's Point, around Wendy Whiteley Secret Garden and the Lavender Bay area. One of the things I found fascinating was that a lot of these weddings are attended by 59 attendees. I find it curious that it's that amount of attendees. I thought it was more than that. But anyway, they claim 59 attendees. We need to have this policy in place, ready for Berries Bay Park development. And we're going to be discussing that a little bit later on this evening. And I think we need to have this policy in place. There's adequate precedent for the type of system that we could be adopting in other councils. We need the revenue to pay for the maintenance of the grounds which are being used. So I thoroughly support the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Keane.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Holding, we're not jumping the gun. We have every right to bring up the concerns that we have over a policy that is presented to us, and we can actually comment on any aspect of that policy at any time. So it's not jumping the gun, it's just raising concerns over a policy which we're perfectly entitled to. $2,500 for a dog walker in Lane Cove, I think, is extremely expensive. I think having our parks open to our dog walkers is really important in North Sydney. And I've looked for Mossman and Willoughby, and I cannot find a cost attached to dog walking as it stands. So as I see it, I think I'm against this policy as it stands. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Before I give Councillor Berrigan the right of reply, I'm going to speak briefly to this. First of all, let's get a grip on what we're doing tonight. We're putting a policy out for public exhibition so that we can hear from the community. It's a policy, so that's high level policy. The details around use and fees will follow once that policy has been adopted. And the policy has been a long time coming. North Sydney Council has been exceedingly generous to commercial users of public open space for a very long time. And before COVID, I think we had the luxury to be able to do so. But since then, we've seen an incredible increase in the number of commercial exploitation of public open space in direct competition with the needs of our population and their need for the use of that public open space. We have increasing demand by residents, workers and students of decreased public open space in our local government area, thanks to Transport for New South Wales. And on top of that, we have an increasing population that will increase by more than 30% over the next 5 to 10 years. And that open space is finite, it's not changing. It covers private schools, it covers kayakers, because it covers commercial operations within public open space. It doesn't need to mention every single type of commercial use, because there no doubt will be commercial uses that have yet to be developed that it will capture in the coming years. I believe it's really responsible that we look at this as part of our continued process of looking for other forms of revenue. It would be reckless and irresponsible for us not to go to our community with this. And so for all those reasons, I support the motion. Councillor Berrigan, do you wish to exercise right of reply?
Thank you, Mayor. I will just briefly, I was going to mention that this is across every user, commercial user of all our parklands, which is appropriate. But for those people who support small businesses, it's very difficult to align that with your desire not to support charging in parks for a commercial operation, because the people who run small businesses with no cost for leases, no cost for rent, no cost for all of that, they don't have to sign up for a contract for a year with rates and electricity and all the other utilities. And so everyone that is operating a commercial business in the parks for free is actually undermining the very people that we want to see thrive in our community, which is our small businesses. But if you think it's fine for small businesses to have to commit to a lease, to pay fees, to pay rates, and to contribute to the community, whereas other people can just bring in their equipment, set up a shop, take over effectively a part of public open space for a commercial enterprise, then I really wonder whether you can actually say that you're supporting small business. This is putting it out there for everybody, and like the Mayor says, this is only going to become more of a problem than less of a problem. And the longer we leave this, the longer it's harder it is to rein it in. We already have huge competing demands, especially on weekends, especially in our major parks, St Leonard's Park, but also around the foreshore and everywhere. So if you choose not to support it, the community actually having a say in the policy, then by all means vote against it. But I think it's prudent, and I'll be voting for the recommendation.
I put the item. All those in favour? And those against? And that is carried. That brings us to the next item with the registered speaker, 10.5, community use of St Leonard's Park, response to council resolution. Mr McDonald, if you would come forward, please.
To have a vision is not to jump the gun. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you're going to identify people that are coming into our area, have the facts. It's all very well to say that there are people bringing in and coming in here and doing this and doing that, but where are the facts? Everything I just heard, and it is in response to this article, this part of the agenda now, it's all supposition, it's anecdotal and totally factless. Okay, so on this particular issue, the intent of the report, it seems to me, and I'm saying you should not support it, is to look towards actually charging Parkrun in the end to use the facility. You've just heard what was being said, and this is how I read the report. What else? The claim made in the report that you have before you doesn't have any charges specifically, but where does the figure come that council subsidises Parkrun to the tune of $300 to $500 every time they come here, which is for 2 hours, 1 day a week? That's the first thing. The second thing about that report, when you go back to the resolution, the motion that you supported, even with its amendments, where on earth did the council get the idea that the two posters that they show from Campbelltown, the park there is called Raby Sports Centre, and Singleton cost between, and they say, actually they don't say cost, they say estimate between 5,000 and 7,000. What is the intent of this report? Because it's full of, and this is one of the problems I have when I come here, is it's clear that many of you do not read your reports, you accept them
Okay,
verbatim.
Call you to order.
Why?
You're making personal imputations.
I didn't mention anybody by
No,
name.
you said
That's
many
rubbish.
of you, you said.
That's utter rubbish,
Mr.
Mayor.
McDonald,
I did not
Listen.
mention anybody by name.
Continuing to speak over me is an act of disorder, and so I'm going to call you to order and ask you to complete your submission.
You see, I don't finish my submission because here we have a council that's more intent on suppressing free speech and the timing. They keep the watch on the clock on the watch on the clock. It's an utter disgrace, and so is this. You should oppose it, and you should go back to the original motion as Carr and Keane brought here. Thank you.
Are there any questions of the speaker? No, thank you. Is there a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Beregi.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move the recommendation.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Holding. Do you wish to speak to it?
I will just briefly. I'd like to thank the director for the report. Yes, and Parkrun do operate, and I have done Parkrun on numerous occasions, and I volunteered with Parkrun, and I think everybody supports Parkrun and supports all residents using our parks for the purpose of fitness. There's no mention of introducing a fee for Parkrun. This was asked about putting signage in the park, and it's come back that that signage really is inappropriate in the park in this context. However, that it says that Council's customer communications team will seek to include the promotion of Parkrun through its existing media and marketing channels. And I think that's a very fair recommendation, which I'm happy to support.
Are there any other speakers? If not, I'll put the item. Oh, Councillor Keane.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to speak to this as it was derived from an original motion, as the speaker mentioned, from Councillor Carr and myself. The purpose of this came from seeing signage in a park in another state, actually, and it was nothing like what has come through in this report. It was tiny signage that just had a small indicator to say that Parkrun was present in this park. It wasn't a massive sign like $7,000 at all. The intention of this motion, which was originally put to this council, was very small signage to at least highlight to people when they're coming into the area that Parkrun is facilitated within St Leonard's Park. Now, Councillor Beregi mentioned small business in her previous motion. Well, the Parkrun itself facilitates and supports small business. It brings a lot of people into this area. They run for their 90 minutes and then they go off into all the small businesses in North Sydney and in our whole LGA. So I'm really supportive to see Parkrun supported in some form. I'd love to see signage. Even if Parkrun could raise the money themselves, the council would support the installation. I'm not talking big signage. We're talking small recognition signage. So I'm very disappointed with what has come back this evening with this report.
Thank you, Councillor Keane. Are there any other speakers? In which case, Councillor Holding.
Look, Councillor Keane was talking about it, and in fact, Councillor Beregi, that I remember that some good friends of mine actually are members of Parkrun, and we've spent a number of times talking about this, they're a bit obsessed about it. And it is a very web-based online community. They, for instance, they go away on holiday, they travel around Australia, they travel to other parts, and they're always looking for where the park run is going to be because they like to do it when they travel. And so I'm aware from my own personal dealing with them that it's a very online community. People are looking for where it is. And so I think the council's recommendation on this of promoting it on our website and making it available is probably the most, it protects the park, the listed heritage aspect of the park, and it also provides information and in the forum and the manner in which most people that do park run would actually go looking for it. So I am supportive of it.
Are there any other speakers? I'm going to put the item, all those in favour and those against, and that is carried. That brings us to the next item with the registered speaker, 10.8, art installation honouring local women, response to council resolution. Mr. Davey McDonald.
Thank you, councillors. Parkrun card. Okay, I've never seen you there. Right, let's
Okay,
get to.
again, I'm going to call you to order. There's no need for that tone or that behaviour towards anyone in this chamber, let alone a councillor. So I'll ask that we start your 3 minutes. And I would ask that you withdraw and apologise.
Mayor.
No, I'm not debating.
I would like to get up when councillor Berridge is looking and directing something at me that I should be able to respond to that. Okay?
Again, I'm
Is that
calling.
unfair?
No, again, I'm calling you to order. Could we start the 3 minutes again?
Okay, here we've got I'm not apologising. Here, I've come,
Point of order, Mayor.
I'm here to support your motion.
Mr. McDonald, everyone in this chamber, no matter who is participating, is required to abide by our code of meeting practice.
I don't think that.
And the code of meeting practice is based on courtesy and respect. And I'm sorry, but the way that you have spoken to councillor Berrigy this evening and the way that you have continued to speak over the chair is not demonstrating that. So I'm reminding you of your obligations under the code of meeting practice, and your 3 minutes will start now.
Thank you. I think this is a most disappointing report that you have in front of you. Originally, when you passed this motion, you put a task to the council to actually research and look into identifying those women that have brought a tremendous amount of influence and hard work into North Sydney. It's disappointing that the council executives seem able to just overturn that and make a suggestion in the report that it go on exhibition and put out there just a clean canvas with no suggestions or any education going with who's who and who has done what. For example, and I'm surprised that councillors would not be disappointed with this, because we have a whole range of famous women, May Gibbs. There's some, I've left my record of everybody else. There's May Gibbs, Wendy Whiteley, the Sisters of Mercy, the nun that founded the first hospital in North Sydney, and as I understand it, in Australia, for women and for children, deprived women and children. We have the alumni at North Sydney School, and yet the council executive that had a year to produce this have produced nothing for you. I think it's a flawed decision if you accept it, because when it goes to public exhibition, and I think it's wonderful to have people nominate, but also to have some concept out there as to who and what would be great examples, and people then can build upon that to make their own decisions. Yes, there is a criteria of what people should adhere to. I think this is a really disappointing report, given that it's had so long to come back to you, a year. And I was the only person that got up and spoke in support of this. Okay, I'm finished.
Are there any questions of the speaker? Thank you. Council, is there?
That's
no-
outrageous, that look that was just presented as I
No,
left.
I'm sorry. Mr. McDonald, I'd ask you to leave. Is there a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Welch.
I move the recommendation.
Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Berkey. Do you wish to speak to the?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mayor. Look, I think it is a great report and I appreciate it being open-ended. I'm thrilled to speak in support of this proposal for an annual art installation to be delivered each year in conjunction with International Women's Day. When we invite our community to nominate inspirational women for inclusion, the criteria will ensure that each nominee has a strong connection to North Sydney, whether by being born here, having lived or worked here, or having made a major contribution to our local area. Candidates may be living or deceased, but their ties to our community must be meaningful and enduring. This project is about much more than the art alone. It is about recognizing the contributions of women who have often been overlooked. It requires us to actively seek out and amplify their stories and achievements across all fields and throughout history. It challenges the traditional narratives that have for far too long prioritized male accomplishments and instead acknowledges the diverse and rich experiences of women. It also addresses the systemic biases that have historically marginalized their contributions. Recognizing a woman's accomplishments is a crucial step towards fostering equality. Celebrating their achievements highlights their contributions, challenges gender stereotypes, and inspires others. By encouraging women's successes, we help create a more inclusive and equitable society, one where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. By supporting this initiative, we will not only celebrate the women who have shaped our community, but we will also create a meaningful and visible reminder of their legacy, one that will inspire and empower future generations. I support the recommendation.
Are there any other speakers? Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is a very good initiative, and I think the council should be doing something on this matter. I think the challenge, though, is that within the report, we don't have a budget of how much an annual art event or an installation is going to cost the council. And given our apparent financial distress, I would not agree to have this undertaken in 2025. Perhaps it can be postponed until the following year. Thank you.
Turn off your microphone. Councillor Berkey.
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, Councillor Welch, would you agree to change woman to women in the recommendation point 2? Just to say that the council call on the community to nominate the inspirational women to be recognised each year. Thank you. Only because I would hope that we will be overwhelmed with both inspirational women that we know of and then inspirational women that haven't had the opportunity to be publicised. And it may well be that we actually have a nomination from each of the 5 criteria, be that impact and influence, contribution to society, recognition and achievements, trailblazers or pioneering, or legacy and enduring relevance. And it would be wonderful if we were able to have inspiring women, because there's a lot of women out there, and in 20 years I hope that we can find more than 20 of them. And I would just say to Councillor Carr, we won't be doing it for International Women's Day 2025 because it's past.
Councillor Keane.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I feel quite strongly about women in our local community, and I was wondering whether there's other ways, as well as what is in the recommendation around International Women's Day, celebrating key women in our local area via social media, via tutorial programs, via a whole comms strategy, really acknowledging and promoting women, highlighting every month a key woman in the North Sydney area, just some really dynamic communication celebrating the successful women that we have in our area. It's sort of a comment.
Thank you, and I'm certain it will be taken on as council's new communications team I'm no doubt will be inspired by that comment. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Hoy.
I'm delighted to support this motion that council undertake an annual art event or installation to recognise inspirational local women to coincide with International Women's Day. Or as I tend to pedantically remind anyone unfortunate enough to be stuck listening to me, its original name, International Working Women's Day. I think it's a worthwhile point to emphasise in the context of this motion. Feminist art is about visibility and equality, and feminist art has played a crucial role in challenging societal norms, advocating for women's rights and exploring themes of identity, body and experience. Throughout the suffrage movement, the arts helped shift public opinion and rally support, and they also gave women new tools to make their message heard. International Working Women's Day is a day to reflect on struggles and successes of the political movement for women's liberation. Art has been inextricably linked with social movements throughout history, and so an art installation seems a wholly appropriate medium to continue with this legacy and to continue with the ongoing struggle for women's liberation, whose work is far from complete. I think it's very appropriate and exciting that the inspirational women be nominated by the community. It is only likely to inspire and promote public discussion and contemplation of the important and influential women from our local area. I'm very pleased to support this motion and look forward to our council participating in some small part in the long and proud tradition of art challenging societal norms and progressing social change.
Thank you. If there are no other speakers, I'll speak very briefly before I give you your right of reply. Here to Councillor Hoy. This wasn't something for staff to dictate and to research and bring back as a fait accompli. What is exciting about it is that it will come from our community, from the organisations within our community, and I hope particularly from all of those girls' schools within our community. And I think that will be an exciting thing. It will also educate our community about the inspirational women of the past and the present. The other thing that's exciting about this is a long-term project. It's not a one-off, and it's a long-term project to be delivered within existing budgets. Even within the constrained budget that we're dealing with in 2025-26, we still have a public art allocation, and this will come out of that public art allocation. So it's about us prioritising an existing budget and how it will be spent. So thank you, Councillor Welsh, for initiating this project. And like all those who've spoken, really, I support it wholeheartedly. Do you wish to exercise your right of reply?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank you for that, and I want to thank the other speakers that have supported this. And I do think it's a great initiative that will go on into the future. And really, there are so many wonderful stories in our community, and so we'll be celebrating them on International Women's Day. Thank you.
So I put the item. All those in favour? Those against? And that is carried unanimously. That leads us to the last item with a registered speaker, 10.10. Current appeals and results, July 2025, Mr. Davey McDonald.
Councillors, I apologise for my apparent rudeness. I'm a very passionate individual. That's not really mitigating, but I think I should say that. I'm here to talk to this particular issue as an active member of my local community and to raise some matters under the heading of what it's called Current Appeals and Results. It states, the purpose of this report is to provide information on current appeal and prosecution matters. Now, I know what you have before you deals specifically with the development applications. However, I think something is missing here that needs to be brought forward at some point into such reports. And that is, it's something that I spoke about, that is very current, and that is regarding council's situation with the introduction of the parking meters that were the introduction and the implementation where they were ticketless. So I think I'd like to know, and I think the community would like to know, and you're not going to be able to answer this right now, was council compliant? And if so, when they introduced the ticketless system and the new parking meter system that were issued during that time, which would seem to be non-compliant, and what is the amount council will have to refund in the event that that has been and is found? What is the quantum of penalties to which council has been exposed? Additionally, how many infringements have been objected to during that period of time, and how many went to court, and how many cases were lost, and what was the cost to council of that? As I said, what you have in front of you deals specifically with development applications, but I'm choosing this opportunity to bring that forward to you to consider and think of. I think it's really important because there are some problems that exist today. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? No. Thank you for your participation this evening. Is there a mover for the recommendation that the report be noted? Moved by councillor Berge, seconded by councillor Santa. If any councillor wishes to speak and directly to any of the items, given legal professional privilege, we will have to close the meeting. So if you wish to do so, could you indicate now? And we will defer this item to the end of the meeting. In the absence of such indication, I'm going to put the item, all those in favour and those against, and that is carried. So that takes us back to the rest of the agenda. Is there a procedural motion? Councillor Berge.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In the absence of being advised there are any other councillors who wish to speak to items, I'd like to move the following on Globo. 9.1.
I want to speak.
Want to speak to that, so we'll leave that one out. 10.1. 10.3. 10.4.
I'd like to speak to
10.6. 10.7. 10.9. And that would be to accept the recommendation of staff.
Is there a seconder for that procedural motion? Councillor Antonini, I'll put it to the meeting. All those in favour? And that is carried. So that takes us back to 9.1, the traffic committee minutes. Councillor Welsh, do you wish to move something?
I would like to move the recommendation.
Is there a seconder? Seconded by councillor Santa. Would you wish to speak to it?
Yes, I would. Okay, I am pleased to inform the council that Lifeline will be partnering with Spring Cycle 2025. All monies raised through this year's event will go directly to Lifeline, helping them answer more calls, support more communities, and reach more Australians doing it tough. The traffic committee has endorsed the necessary temporary road closure for the event, which is scheduled for Sunday, the 12th of October, 2025. Spring Cycle remains an iconic experience, offering riders a unique opportunity to cross the Sydney Harbour Bridge, travel along the Cahill Expressway, and pass through the CBD on closed, car-free roads. It is still the only cycling event in the city to provide this experience. This is a wonderful opportunity for our community to participate in a memorable event while supporting a vital cause. I'm very much looking forward to it. I've already done my registration. I support the recommendation.
Any other speakers? I'll put the item, all those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. That brings us to item 10.4, the future management of Berries Bay foreshore. Is there a mover for the recommendation? Moved by councillor Santa, seconded by councillor Holding. May I, as a long-term ward councillor, ask you both to take on a fourth item? That council continue to advocate to and lobby the state government for the transfer of all of the patchwork of Berries Bay state-owned land to council. The reason I'm asking you to take that on is that it has been decades of community battle to have that land in council's ownership and not just council's care, control and management. And I think we have to, in good faith, continue to insist to the state government that that's what ultimately happened. So thank you for taking that on, if you will. Thank you. Do either of you wish to speak to the item or anyone else? Councillor Santa.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It was my honour and pleasure to be present when recently Minister Acheson launched Berries Bay Park redevelopment, an exciting development involving the return to the community of an area formerly degraded through private commercial use and sealed off from the public. This beautiful coastal area, with its magnificent views of the harbour, will link Carradale Park with Balls Head Point and the coal loader, and at last gives us, the people, back some of the more open parkland and recreation space which up to now has been denied to residents of our local government area. I applaud council staff for their efforts to secure this park for us residents, and I surprised myself in saying this. I also applaud Transport for New South Wales for its proposed design of the park and undertaking of the necessary capital works to achieve it. I therefore support this motion and hope that my fellow councillors will do the same.
Thank you. Councillor Carr, did you wish to speak for this matter?
Yes, well, it's really actually a question. I noted in the documents that the land that Transport for New South Wales is refusing to transfer ownership to council. Given that the land was a working forefront, there is contamination in the bay, and I noticed in the documents that any contamination will be upon council to remediate. And I'm wondering if there is any chance of.
The bay isn't owned by, they'd have to transfer that land. Land below the mean high water mark is owned by the state government. So we're talking about land-based works that we will have care and control of, but not the bay itself.
Okay, but the land may have contamination. It was a working waterfront. So I just wonder whether council has the opportunity to negotiate that if there is any contamination there, that it's not at our cost.
Under the consent, they have to return it in a state capable of public recreation. So that work has to be done by Transport in the delivery of the park. If Mr. you'd like to say something in addition to that.
I'm just noting the councillor's comments. So the draft CCM or principles of the CCM that's attached does talk about contamination. We aren't asking councils or councillors to authorise the chief executive officer to sign that. All we're asking for the councillors to do is endorse or authorise the chief executive officer to allow the chief executive officer to enter into discussions with Transport for New South Wales in relation to the in management of the land, including potentially the transfer of ownership of the land.
Any other speakers? I'll put the item, all those in favour. And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Brings us to the close of the meeting. Thank you all for your participation. I look forward to the next ordinary meeting of council in 2 weeks' time.
Recording stopped.